So I already have an artboard created. Again, to make a new file, I would go File, New, set 15 inches by 15 inches, for example, create. And that you would get this, but not with any of the stuff on the page. I'm going to create a new artboard, so I'm going to go over to my artboards button, I guess. And up here, it allows you to create a new artboard. There's also a moment over here that you can, so there's 2 different places you can create a new artboard. But it's already the size and width and all that I want. But just to double check, up here and over on the side, I have a width and a height that tells me that it's 15 inches. So, confirmed. To create swatches, over in this panel, I'll make a rectangle and press Shift to create a square. If I don't press Shift, it allows me to have any proportion. And then I'd actually like to make a new layer. So File, I already selected my made a new layer, selected the object, arrange, and I can send to the current layer. So now this is on a new layer. I'm going to paste a bunch of these. So I did Control V like 4 times. Select all of my rectangles, and then actually I'll put one down here.
And the way she was able to paste them all on top of each other is you hold Shift.
Yeah. I'm aligning them, and then I'm using these to, allow you to align to like the middle of an object or the sides of an object, so I've aligned them to the middle. And then these are vertical distribution. It allows you to distribute things evenly along one direction. I am going to make this black because I want a black fill. And I don't want this to have an outline. For this one, I'd like to have a hatch. So I would like to find the hatches. And then in the little bookends, like we showed you last week, under Patterns, Basic Graphics, it allows me to find a bunch of lines options. And I start clicking around to see if any of these are similar to what I want.
Oh, swatches?
Yeah.
Under the little book thing, you can right-click, and it'll say Patterns.
Yeah.
I believe.
So, I have my swatch library. Oh yes, we're getting there. 100%. So, I have a swatch I want. Under the next one, I'm going to use my eyedropper tool, which is I, to repeat.
Duplicate it.
Yeah, duplicate the graphic quality. I don't want these to have outlines, so I make the outline go away. And now here's the key thing, guys.
This is important. This is important.
Object, transform, rotate, like up in the top panel. And if I'd like to rotate something maybe 45 degrees, it allows me to toggle on and off preview. But it's obviously not giving me what I want. So instead of transform objects and transform patterns, I'm just going to transform the patterns and uncheck transform objects. Okay? Same thing applies for scale. So I'm going to repeat this process. Object, transform, scale. And now I'll scale to 50%. And if I click on preview, it's scaled the hatch down 50%.
Remember, always unclick transform objects when you're trying to just change the hatch.
And if I just want to transform the object but not the hatch, I can also do that. Okay. The last thing I just wanted to show you, there was this possibility of varying the thickness of shadows so that it kind of creates a gradient through hatch. And I just wanted to show you guys that, let's say I start with 2 different line hatches, and I scale both of them down and rotate both of them. clearly one is thicker and one is thinner. And then I can have 3 separate objects that represent the darkest shadow I want, the middle of the shadow I want, and then the very end. And then I just use the eyedropper tool to apply shadows to these. So for example, I'm going to delete this one. I for eyedropper. The next one I'll use just the thinner lines. And then I'll select both of these by pressing Shift and clicking. Object, transform, scale. And for both of them, I can scale the hatch at the same time.
But it doesn't change the line weights. It doesn't like merge it as one.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing. Just for creating arrows and dashed lines. I'm going to make another layer. Typically, I'm sure you guys probably do this too, I like to have one layer associated with one graphic quality. So if it's different arrowheads, that means I like to have them on different layers. It's just easier, yeah. It gives you
I have like -1, -2, arrow 1, arrow 2. And it keeps you organized.
Okay. So all of these, I've selected 3 of my lines. I've gone over to the stroke place. I think you can also right click and change the stroke, but I'm just gonna click on the properties panel. Actually, and I'm gonna give them an arrowhead. But let's say I like the arrowhead on this one. For the next one I want,
Arrow 5.
yeah, arrow 5.
I love arrow 5. Arrow 5 and arrow 21.
Is it the straight?
Actually, I already have arrow 5.
The straight bottle. Oh no, never mind.
No, I guess you used 5.
So we both like 5.
See, we both like
Yeah.
5. Arrow 21's pretty cool too.
Let's do that.
It's just a circle,
Mm-hmm.
but it's so good.
Okay. All of my lines have a certain, they're 0.5 lines. If I make the lines thicker, it also makes the arrowheads larger. But if I want to have more control over that, like I want a thicker line, I can always change the size of the arrowhead, or the percentage of the arrowhead. So,
Like ratio of arrowhead to line weight.
yeah, 180% or 50%. Okay. Last thing is just showing you how to do a center line dash. So for a center line, I usually use the proportion of 10 point width dash, then a gap of 5, which is half of 10, and then a smaller dash of 1, which is 1/10 of 10, and then another gap of 5. And that gives me,
It's like a really nice property line.
yeah. Finally, a stroke can either be, like, let's say I do 3 and 6, so the dash is 100% and the gap is 200%. Or I can also choose to do a dash that has the dash and gap at the same percentage. 100% and 100%, so 3-point and 3-point dashes.